Hello and welcome to the Grand Line Review, your source for everything One Piece. Today, we are going to begin a journey together. A journey that will take us through the history of One Piece in cinematic form. From the very beginning, right up until its latest release, Film Gold. We're going to experience the highs and the lows of its transition into the medium, and provide a retrospective review of each film. For this first video, we are going right back to the very start, with the first film, rather uncreatively titled, One Piece, the Movie. Welcome to Film Friday. There was once a pirate known as the Great Gold Pirate Woonan, who obtained 1/3 of the world's gold. Over the course of a few years, the pirate's existence faded, and a legend grew that he disappeared with his gold to a remote island, an island pirates continue to search for. Aboard the Going Merry, Luffy and his crew, starved and reckless, are robbed of their treasure. In an attempt to get it back, they wreck a getaway ship, guided by a young boy named Tobio, who's a captured part of El Drago's pirate crew. El Drago's love for gold has driven him to look for Woonan's island, and thanks to Woonan's treasure map, he finds it. During this time, Luffy's crew has been split up, and despite their own circumstances, they must find a way to stop El Drago from obtaining Woonan's gold. Released in the year 2000, One Piece the Movie was part of the Toei Anime Fair, and while not canon, it takes place between the Syrup Village and Baratier arcs in the East Blue Saga, so the total number of Straw Hat pirates we have at this point is 4. Luffy, Zoro, Nami, and Usopp, which is a really odd number because in my mind, when I look back on the core group of early Straw Hats, I always consider Sanji to be amongst them. And in my opinion, his absence in this film is very noticeable, especially considering he's in the opening. Yes, the One Piece movie opens the exact same way any early anime episode would have, with "We Are," which I think is really cool. It makes it feel like an extended episode and quite effectively slots it into the time period for me. The film also features the original end credits song, also featuring Sanji, with some animated versions of early color spreads. But hey, we've skipped to the end a bit too early here. Taking a step back, the story, it's, nothing special. Like I said, it just feels like an extended episode of most early East Blue adventures. In the context of its release, it's not bad by any means. I mean, most stories in the East Blue era were similar to, if not more poorly set up than this one. However, there's no denying that it in no way meets the complex standards of modern day One Piece. But while the story might be a bit of a miss, the characters are absolutely on point. This is the Luffy, Zoro, Nami, and Usopp that every One Piece fan came to love, and character really drives this story forward rather than plot. The comedic moments of these characters are brilliantly written, making me laugh aloud on several occasions. There's a particularly great bit where Luffy and Zoro are chained together back to back and encounter the main villain of the film, El Drago. Luffy introduces himself as the man who will become the Pirate King, and then swiftly turns around to introduce Zoro. Honestly, if this had been in the actual series, it would be considered a classic comedy moment. But going back to the villain, there's no way to sugarcoat it, he's boring and one-dimensional. I'm pretty sure every second word that came out of his mouth was gold. He's obsessed with gold for no real good reason, and it's really hard to like a villain who has no reason for doing what he's doing. To his credit though, he has a somewhat interesting non-canon devil fruit called the Goa Goa no Mi. This fruit allows him to create sound waves powerful enough to cause mass destruction and for some reason to look like energy blasts. In retrospect, it actually reminds me a lot of Whitebeard's devil fruit and the way he could create shockwaves to cause natural disasters. Both are paramecia types, and if this fruit was canon, I think it would be considered the underclass to Whitebeard's fruit. The final fight between Luffy and El Drago is decent, with El Drago actually using Luffy's stretch abilities against him, something which very few villains seem to do. The finishing move is a bit predictable though, but it is fairly satisfying, I guess. As for the other characters, there is a cast of sub-antagonists, but honestly I don't remember any of their names, even the guy who fought Zoro. They're fairly stock standard pirates with no real character of their own. The heart of the story comes from a boy named Tobio and his father who sells Oden noodles. Similarly, they're your fairly standard One Piece characters in need who appear in just about every filler arc. I understand that they're needed for the story to have any kind of emotional drive whatsoever, but I think they could have been written much better, even considering the time period. And speaking of the era, the animation is noticeably old, but it has this charming quality that all of those classic 90s anime seem to exude, like Slayers or Neon Genesis. It was actually a pleasure to watch because even the One Piece anime TV series didn't really produce animation of this style. With that said, what it really made me want to do is sit down and watch more classic anime rather than continue with this movie. Sitting at a merciful 50 minutes long, One Piece the movie is a passable adventure, but honestly I can't find myself recommending it to anybody except a truly, and I mean truly, hardcore fan. Even then, there's no real point to watching it unless you fancy becoming a One Piece historian. What I will say for it is that it was far better than I remember it being. When I originally watched the film like a decade ago, I remember being bored all the way through, and hey, that may still be the case with a lot of viewers, but I found it somewhat enjoyable to watch if just for the retrospective of the series. And that's where I think we'll leave this review. Next time on Film Friday, we'll be taking a look at Clockwork Island Adventure, a feature I actually remember quite fondly, so I'm very much looking forward to that. This has been the Grand Line Review, and I'll see you next time for another Film Friday.